Man, listen, episode 3 of Cinemax's Warrior was pretty good. Let's get into it. So episode 3 of Cinemax's Warrior, John Chinaman, I have to say was pretty good. Let me tell you something. I'm really impressed with the writing of the show, especially. I think it's super smart and I think it's so well done for a lot of different reasons. But guys, what did you think about this episode? Now make sure that you stick with me through the whole video because I'm going to be sharing some theories here because now I'm starting to see some things and I'm wondering what you guys are seeing as well. But let's start with the synopsis, then we'll jump into the theory, and then I got to get into some of the technical stuff of this show because I'm super impressed, man. I'm going to tell you, I'm really impressed. So, a synopsis. We know that Ah Sahm finds himself in jail because he just had to go and give the glove back, right? He sees the mayor's daughter, I can't remember what her name is, and picks up the glove, goes to give the glove back, but when he comes upon her, he finds that she's being attacked by some Irishmen that don't like the fact that she is outside of Chinatown and on top of that with a Chinaman. So they go to attack her. He intervenes, and as a result of that, he gets blamed for the attack, despite the fact that she's saying it wasn't him. But this is an opportunity, right, for the police to actually take him in. So they lock him up. Young June finds out what's happened, and he's like, listen, Father Jin, we got to get him out. We can't just leave him there to rot. And Father Jin is like, I'm not bailing him out. This is actually good for us. This can take some of the heat of all the drama that's been going on between the tongs and Chinatown. So just let him sit there for a little bit. Well, we do know that his sister finds out about it, Mei Ling, and she makes some moves to get him out, and she does end up getting him out of jail, and now he is out and he's back with the Hop Way. We do know that Father Jin comes in when they're celebrating, and Father Jin is like, well, let me speak to him, right? And Father Jin basically gives him the beat down because he wants to know why he did what he did. Like, why were you there? You weren't with your brothers. You weren't with me. Why were you there? And I feel like that's a signal sent to Ah Sahm that number one, we really don't trust you. And number two, you better make sure that you follow the rules like you're supposed to. But it's also a sign to me to really tell you what Father Jin really thinks about the Hop Way, which in my opinion is not much. So at this point, Ah Sahm is out and he's made a connection, right? He's made a connection with the mayor's daughter. And it's really interesting, right? That whole thing there, like how he is drawn to her in the first place. Why he even goes back to give her that glove, I think is fascinating. But there is a connection there between the two of them. I know that some of you guys are thinking, oh man, you can see it coming, right? You can see like the love interest coming. But I'm not so sure that that's really what Ah Sahm had in mind. But we do know now that he has this connection. We do know that Mr. Leary is making moves, always trying to position to make sure that the Irish are well taken care of. And we know that Mr. Leary doesn't like the Chinese because he feels like the Chinese are really undercutting them as a labor force because they come in and they do very cheap labor where they're getting paid next to nothing, and the Irish are pretty much put on the out. So he's pulling all of these strings in terms of what he needs to do for his people on the Irish side, and we kind of end there with what's going on. So we know that Ah Sahm is out. Now we know that Ah Sahm has made all these different connections, which by the way, I don't know if you thought about this, but think about this. Now Ah Sahm is connected to almost every level within this show. He's connected to the folks in Chinatown. He's connected really by extension to Mr. Leary, who really wants him gone. And he's connected to the government. So he has gone and gotten himself tied up with all three levels of what's going on in this show. So let's talk about some theories, man. Now, let's talk about the mayor's daughter. What is her name? Is it Brickman? I can't remember what the name is. Somebody help me. Somebody share what her name is. But here's what I think. Theory number one with her. Now, it might seem on the surface that what's going on with them is some kind of physical attraction, some kind of love interest, and it might end up being that way. But I'm telling you, I think that he was able to surmise, and this is when he met her in that shop, because he didn't really know anything about her at that point, or at least we don't know that he did. But I think that he figures that she is someone of importance. So I feel like he felt the vibe, the connection there, and thought to myself, you know, but whoa, wait, like I can use this to my advantage. So initially I was thinking that maybe he would try and connect with her because she could be a way to get him out of San Francisco. But I don't really think that anymore. I think now he's kind of thinking broader. I think he realizes he's in a situation where him transitioning out is not going to be as easy as getting on a boat. So now he's really kind of calculating everything. And I think he's also trying to think of a way to free his sister, to get his sister out as well. But I think that a number of different things, right, are happening with Ah Sahm. I think that he's super smart, number one. I think he's very, very observant, and he realizes, or he recognizes more than he lets on to recognize. But I think he's still kind of trying to feel his way, right? Like I feel like he's like us dipping our toe in the water of the pool to make sure it's not too cold. We're kind of like checking the temperature, and that's what I feel like he's doing. I feel like as he's interacting with all of these different groups on all these different levels, he's kind of trying to feel the people out. He's still trying to get the lay of the land to figure out exactly how things operate within Chinatown. But I do think that he still really has his own motivations. He's still planning on making his own moves, and he really is, in some respect, playing the game in Chinatown. So that's what I think about him. So I think the connection between he and the mayor's daughter is not necessarily just about physical attraction, but he has his own motivations as to how she might be beneficial to him. I don't think that she sees that. I think that she's still very green. I think that she's just kind of struck. She just thinks the brother's kind of fine and she would love to get with him. But I think that he sees her as more than that, as more of an asset. Now, let's talk about Mei Ling a little bit, because right now with Mei Ling, Ah Sam's sister, it seems like that on the surface, she really is all about continuing to build her empire. I do think that she's making power moves to the extent that her higher up boss doesn't really know. I can't remember what his name is, but I think that she is planning to make power moves to either take him out of the picture or essentially really strip him of power and have everyone else within that sect follow her. Now, it looks like to me on the surface that she is also about furthering the opium trade and really just strengthening her position in Chinatown. But I'm going to tell you, I don't think so, man. I have a theory, can't really prove it, but I have a theory that Ah Sahm showing up there has really kind of shaken her, and that she will end up actually being more on the side of seeing what she can do to help her people in Chinatown than it really is to serve her own interest. I think that that's going to happen here. I think the seeds of that are brewing, and I think that we're going to find out as this show progresses that she really falls in line with that and not so much for her own interests. And I also think that she will be an advantage to really kind of trying to free what's going on to the folks in Chinatown within the larger story of what's going on in San Francisco, because she has that governmental connection. So I'm watching her to see kind of what kind of plays out with her character, because I think it's interesting to see how she's interacting and how she's kind of navigating things. I also want to jump now to a toy, the brothel owner. Hopefully I'm getting these names right, you guys, but if not, somebody correct me. Now, she's interesting as well. Now, clearly she has a mission really to be on the side of the Chinese folks and to really kind of free them. She hates to see the position that they're in, right? And in a position of servitude. She doesn't like that. She says, you know, our people are warriors. I think that that part of her resonates with Ah Sahm, because Ah Sahm doesn't like it either. You can see it, right? Like, you can see the anger on his face when he sees a Chinaman being misused. He does not like it. I think he's disgusted with all of it. He's disgusted with the Hop Way and how that has really divided China. He's disgusted to see how the Irish are treating China. And he understands the racism that's just in general with where he is. He gets the fact that because he is Chinese, because he looks different, that there is a different standard. He is treated different. He is not treated on the same level as everyone else. And I think all of that disgusts him, because I think that just at his core, he's a person of pride, and he does not like to see what's happening with his people. But I think, again, that he's kind of learning to play the game, learning to navigate how everything goes. It'll also be interesting to see what happens with that officer. I can never remember his name, but you guys remember I talked about him on the last video, the officer that's really like straight-laced, because now he really is starting to see kind of the underbelly of what's going on with the police force and how really they're as crooked as everybody else. And almost everyone in this show is playing some angle except for a few people, and that would be that officer. What is his name? Jeez, it's killing me. And probably it would be the mayor's daughter. So it's really fascinating to look at that as well. So let's talk about the story, man. Let me tell you something. So this show is really much more of an action drama than it is anything else, and probably more so heavy on the drama than what I would say. I mean, it's definitely an action show. We got the martial arts execution. Woo-wee! Speaking of that, you guys, I'm sorry, I'm going off script here for a minute. That fight scene when Mei Ling enters a house and basically threatens the witness that, like, if you go in and testify, we're going to kill you and your family, was awesome. I love that kick punch combo that led into the sweep. I was like, woo-wee! Get him, man. That was good fight choreography. I enjoyed the fight choreography in this episode as well. Man, I'm digging the show, man. I'm really feeling Warrior. I like what we have going here, and I like the possibilities of where it can go. So I think that there's so much going on here. I got to talk about the writing for a little bit because I think it's really smart. Did you guys notice like how they have taken certain lines of speech and made it kind of specific to the different racial or the different social groups within the show? Like how the Chinese, when they're trying to talk to each other and they're trying to ask, do you understand? Everybody says, get me. So, and even with the Irish, they have certain sayings that are specific to that culture. It's really good. Like the writing's really smart. And how what they've done is with how they've written the show, they've really crafted a narrative that really kind of associates and separates the different subclasses within the show, that really helps to bring you into what that culture is within the setting of the show. I think that's awesome. I also think the set design, every time I see the show, man, listen, I'm so impressed with the set design. Guys, remember, this is a set, but for the life of me, if it does not feel like a real place in time, if it does not feel like 1800 San Francisco, I'm so impressed by that. I think the production value of the show is awesome, awesome, awesome. I want to say something here as well, too, because it's really interesting because you guys know, right? You do know that this was an idea that Bruce Lee pitched way back when he was alive. I think it may have been in the 1970s or so, because I think that that's when Kung Fu came out. But to an extent, let me know what you think about this. It's almost beneficial that we got the show here in 2019, because I'm going to tell you, the performances probably would not have been as good had we gotten it back in the 70s. That's debatable, I know, and I accept that for those of you guys who say, whoa, Al, that's not true. I can tell you that the production value would not have been as good, and probably the fight choreography as well. We know that, right? You can look at the fight choreography in Kung Fu and then look at the fight choreography in Warrior and see the difference. Next, make sure you check out more about Warrior right over there. You can see the reviews for episodes 1 and 2, and don't forget to check out the Patreon page. We do have it up. Thank you guys so much for supporting, as we do need to take the channel to the next level. You guys know I'll see you in the comments, and with that, I'll also see you on the next video. Peace.